Hi guys, today I'll be showing you how to attach a corset to a skirt. So this corset I'm making, the skirt, the waistline is a straight waistline. So meaning I'm not making any shape on the waist. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure the shoulder to waist measurement I'm working with. So after you've placed your corset on the dress form, if you don't have a dress form, you can do this on a table. All you need to do is just make sure the corset is not squeezing. Measure from the shoulder to the waist. The shoulder to waist measurement of this person I'm working with is 17. You mark that 17. You come to the other side. Here you place the tape on the shoulder. You mark the same 17 here. So for some corset dress, the skirt starts exactly on the waistline. For others, the skirt starts like 2 inches below the waistline. So the reason some skirts start 2 inches below the waistline is to make the shape of the waist very visible, to make the snatching of the waist very visible. So this style I'm making, the corset starts below the waist. So since this person's waist, shoulder to waist is 17, I'm going to use 18.5 or 18. So I'm adding 1 inch extra or 1.5 inch extra. So I'm using 18. I'll just mark my 18 on both sides. Then I'll connect it together. Just a little bit. You don't need to mark too much because this strap can be difficult to get off. So I'm just going to connect that line to the side. You do the same thing for this side. Then you take it to the back. You need to be very careful to make sure the line is very straight. So after you've connected it to the back on this point, so you measure what you have here, from here to the line you've marked. Here I have 7.5, so I'll measure the same 7.5 here. Measure the same 7.5 here, 7.5 here. So now I know that line I'm connecting from this place, I'm connecting it to meet this point here. So the reason for measuring these measurements from here to here and from here to here is so that the skirt will be equal on both sides in the back. So now I'm going to connect this side to that point that I marked. So the next thing I'm going to do now is attach my skirt. So now I've already sewed the skirt. I've joined the both sides together. The skirt is in one piece. So the skirt is in one piece like this. So this is the front, this is the back. So all I'm going to do now is attach it to this. And then when I'm attaching it, I'm going to sew from the center to this place here. You need to stop sewing here or 1 inch inward. So the reason for taking 1 inch inward is just so that when you're lacing this inside, you know this part now will be inside the skirt, right? The skirt will be laid here and this part will be inside the skirt, so that when you are lacing this place, it will not be difficult to lace, like the hands will not be difficult to go inside. So you just take 1 inch here and then you stop sewing the skirt there, or you can also sew it to this point, and then you do the same thing for that side. You don't sew your skirt on top of your lacing. So now, since this is a straight waistline, I'm not going to hand stitch this. I'm going to use my machine to attach it. So all I'm going to do is, if you've not turned your skirt, the waistline of your skirt with a machine, you see this skirt now, this is the waistline. You see that I turned part of it. This is the back. I turned the back, but I didn't turn the front. I turned the back. So the reason I turned the back is because of the zip. So when we fix the zip at the back, we don't want any raw edge to be showing here. So for the front, even if there's any raw edge in the front, by the time we attach the skirt like this, You see how it is now. You see draw edges are showing here, right? So if I want to attach it now, I'm just going to fold it in by like 1/2 inch, like this. And then I'm not sewing on top. I'm going to lift it up, and then use my machine to sew on that 1/2 inch. So now I remove my corset from the mannequin. So now I'm going to attach the skirt. So you remember we have a line here that we marked. So that line there is exactly where I'll be sewing my corset on. So now for the front, I'm going to find the middle in the front. You just measure what you have in the front waist, just the front waist. So the front waist here, I have 14.5. 14.5, that means the middle will be 7 1/4. 7 1/4. So that's the middle of my corset. So I'll do the same thing for my skirt. I'll find the middle of my skirt, but I don't need to measure. All I need to do is just fold it like this. When you fold it like this, you get the middle. Get the middle. So you just put a mark there to know the middle. So now the reason for finding the middle for the skirt and the corset is because we are going to sew from one middle to the other end and from one middle to the other end, because if you start sewing from one end to the other end, the middle of the corset and the middle of the skirt will not match. So after doing that, now I'm going to place my corset on top of my skirt. You see, I'm not placing it like this, right? Because you remember this raw edge we have here. So I'm going to place it like this and then sew from under. So I'm going to place it like this. And then, so because it's a corset, right, there are bonings inside, and the boning I use are not sewable boning. They are not polyester boning. They are plastic boning. You cannot sew on this type of boning. Your machine cannot climb it. So what I'm going to do is, you see the way my boning is now, right? I'm going to sew from here to here and then stop, then bring it here, sew from here to here, stop, and then from here to here, stop. Wherever there is boning, I'll just jump it, go to the next place and sew. I'm not sewing on this side. I'm just using this side to show you, so you would see that there are bonings inside. So I cannot just sew a running stitch because of my boning. So I'm going to sew, stop, sew, stop, sew, stop, sew, stop. So the most important thing is the skirt is held in place. So now I've sewed from one middle to one end. Remember, this is the middle of the skirt we marked, and then this is how it looks from this side. So by the time you turn it over, turn your skirt over, this is how it's going to look here. This is how it's going to look here. So now I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. So after you've attached it, the next thing you do now is to sew your zip. So to sew your zip, you just bring the dress together, make it into 2 equal halves, and then you take the waist measurement you're working with, you take it here. But since you know it's a corset, so when you lace it, it becomes tighter and then it makes the waist smaller. So now let's say the waist measurement I'm working with is 28. 28 divided by 2, that's 14. Instead of measuring 14 from here to here, I'm measuring 14 because I folded this into 2, right? So instead of measuring 14 from here to here, I'll just remove 1 inch from the waist only. So I remove 1 inch from the waist. So when you get to the hip, you measure the hip measurement, you maintain the hip measurement. So all you need to do is just make the waist smaller at the back, then you just maintain the hip measurement and then sew your zip. So your zip should be like at least 9 inches short. The minimum is 9 inches short and then maximum is 11 inches long for your skirt zip.